Hi everyone, hi, my name is Ade and welcome to another episode on the vlog. I'm sure you guys have noticed that we've been dropping in conversations with Ade as we do the standard vlog, so enjoy it. Today with me on the show, I'm actually pretty excited. I was just telling everybody I have to find another word other than excited to use, but I'm really excited. I had a very brief conversation with this guest, so I'm going to let her introduce herself to you today.
Hello everyone, my name is Tobi Odukoya. I am the head designer and founder of Prima Rouge Fashion Label. I'm also a consultant for small businesses and I do a little bit of public speaking. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, it sounds really exciting. So in my usual fashion, I'm going to literally turn the vlog over to you and let you drive. I mean, for me, the question is, so how did it all start? I mean, that's the key question.
Yes,
yes.
So how did it all start? So the funny thing is I actually didn't study fashion. I started off with sciences and then I studied agriculture and business management in school. So how did I find myself in fashion? It's funny because I'm associated with an NGO a friend of mine runs, and she's been my friend from primary school. So they had a 5-year anniversary just the other day, and I was introducing myself, and I said, I've started fashion in 2008. She said, no, that's a lie. You've been drawing since primary school. So I actually keep forgetting that during classes I used to sketch, but I just used to do it. It wasn't like it was, I knew anything called fashion. I mean, I was in primary school, so what would I have known about fashion? But I've always sketched. So it's something that has always been with me. But my core passion has always been philanthropy, because I wanted to study agriculture for poverty alleviation.
Wow.
So I actually did a stint of internship in Rome with FAO.
Okay.
And came back to Nigeria, did my youth service, then the recession kicked in. And when I got to Nigeria in 2007, there wasn't any agricultural anything. I think it was when Goodluck Jonathan came that he even started to develop the agricultural sector in it. There was nothing happening. And then again, application. So I studied in the UK, in Nottingham, very good university for my course. And all the crops that I learned about were temperate crops, meaning they were crops that are for the UK weather system. There's no sugar beets in Nigeria. There is, you get. So we have corn, we have yam, we don't have sugar beets.
So how are you going to apply?
How am I going to apply? I was thinking, what am I supposed to do now? Am I going to go and open a farm? I don't want to be a farmer. Even till today, my calling is not to have a row of farms somewhere and be planting. I wanted to do more of the application, policy making, because I wanted to do my master's in international development studies. These were my own plans. So, that's where I wanted to go with it. But come 2007, there was no job. All of us came out from the UK. We're going from office to office, handing our CV. Nobody was employed. People were sacking their staff because obviously the recession was in full force. So then I'd gone and got some beautiful Ankara fabrics, and my sister had just finished uni, or she was just starting uni, I don't remember. She's my younger sister. So we said, yeah, let's develop a collection. And we did. We got a tailor, we worked with her, we told her what we wanted, did some photography at home. Then her friend used to run this TV program, Dynamics Use something. So he came, he did the photography for us. Her friends, we were the models, her friends, everybody. And yeah, so then Facebook was there. So we didn't have Facebook page, we had Facebook groups. Right. So I uploaded all the photos on Facebook group. Oh yeah, this pose, this trouser. And then I started to get calls from England, and I was like, okay. People are calling me from London, people are calling me from America, ordering stuff. I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing now. So we did, because there was quite a few platforms. So there was LPM, where you could exhibit your stuff, you could sell stuff. La Petite Maché. And then, so we did a lot of that to start with. Then because of my friends and my junior sister's friends connection, because he was showing it on AIT, we got loads of inquiries, loads of calls, and we did a lot of awards and fashion shows. And it was the most interesting part for me was when I started getting calls from Bermuda, China, Fiji. I'm like, So I saw myself sending things. I mean, I've made people's traditional wedding attire as far as Australia, and this is not now. This is 2008, 9. We did a train.
So these are Nigerians.
Yeah, these are Nigerians in diaspora,
Yeah.
and then we had some of them marrying, you know, Caucasians. So we used to get some. I used to get Caucasians as well. I used to get Black Americans from New York who wanted my men's Oriental tunic.
I love
and things like that. So I mean,
and all started from this little.
It just started from that. So we basically exploded, and it was really easy. It was
effortless.
Grace. It was effortless.
So this is what I want to say, because a lot of people say they don't really know how they got there. But I find that when I dig deeper, you did something. You know, there was something that happened in the process of it becoming effortless. There was either a mindset that was broken. There was something you had seen in your family. There's something that I don't know that something had happened. You know, you had either said it or spoken it or imagined it or saw it. I mean, was there anything that happened?
Is anything that happened? I think this was me having an opportunity to do something for myself, you know, that I had not really done before, you know. And I had a lot of help and support, but I was diligent. So what I found was that I did a lot of self-learning on the internet. So I didn't just sit down and not do anything about it. I started to learn the fashion terms. I used to go and read about business, how to market, and I put all those things in. And what you asked was actually going to come later, because I think God just gave me an open door. But I must say to you at this point, in my relationship with God where was I? I was nowhere. I mean, I've always had a relationship with God, being that when I was 8 years old, I remember nobody said anything to me, but I was worried that I loved my mom that more than God. So I was like, no, I love my mom so much. I hope you're not upset. And I remember giving my life to Christ by myself in my room, I guess. I don't even know how I went about it. And then I went into secondary school soon after, got baptized in the Holy Spirit at one, because I schooled in Otta in Bell. So they used to go to Four Square in Otta, and they were doing Holy Spirit something. I said, okay. So I found myself speaking in tongues from maybe 10, 11. I didn't really understand the application, but I mean, I could speak in the Spirit. And I'd had a relationship with God that had blown hot and cold over the few decades that followed. I went in England. I was a very committed member in a very prominent church in London that then dissipated, had some issues with the police, and that just sent me to the other end of the spectrum. I just drank champagne to stupor and partied, did all the hopping from county to county, states, place to place, Birmingham to Nottingham, to party here. But I did that throughout, and then came back home, still blowing hot and cold. In between, I was a prayer warrior. So I had a stint in A-levels, when I was doing my foundation, where I was so committed to God, because I was in that church. So we used to march on the streets of London and demand souls. And the church will come. Sunday, you see people lining up outside to enter church. So we were seeing the results. But when the whole thing happened with the controversy and the church was going down the drain, it did a knock on my face. So I was just like, nah, I'm not doing this thing, you know. So then when I got to university, I had a good church too. I was the church secretary of the youth group, but I was not as committed. Let's just put it that way. So my relationship with God had gone hot and cold. So at this time, when the business started, I was in a relationship with someone that wasn't Christian. Didn't really mind. He said he didn't believe in God that much, that Jesus Christ was not really Jesus. But I mean, I've had encounters with God. So if I was in my normal sense, I should have not entertained such. But I was just, because I was so cold, I didn't have a problem with that. So enter that relationship. So that relationship was part of this beginning of success. I'd gone to London, I'd done fashion shows. I was invited to do another one in DC. So all this was coming up until something happened. You know, my friend said something to me just 2 weeks ago. She said, everybody's story is in the Bible. You just need to find out who your own story is.
Oh, wow.
It was a rude shock. Let's just put it that way. And I didn't know them, but I found myself having a wilderness experience. And what is a wilderness experience? It's a place where God calls you out of everything you are doing or you know, where you find yourself in a place where nothing is working and everything has shut down, and it feels as if your life has stopped. Literally, you don't have a reason to live again. You're just like, you don't even know where you are. So I think for different people, it happens in different ways. But one thing I think is that cuts through everybody's experience is you are in a place where you are helpless and you find that you are no longer enough. And everything you think is important and dear is no longer there. It's no longer enough. And you're just on your own and you just have nothing else to look at but yourself. And you see yourself for who you really are, and then God begins to, I think that for me was what happened. So interpreting into the situation, I started to have problems with my business. All of a sudden, people will come to my office, things that had been going well before. The tailors were spoiling people's clothes. I couldn't explain it. So I was losing customers. My relationship began to have issues as well. I thought that was I'd found my man, and I was good. I mean, there were subtle things that were wrong with the relationship, but I concluded that it was fine for me that way. Right. And so I found that the relationship itself started having issues. And I remember that in my peak phase in my life, I was really oblivious to life because I was very sheltered. I don't think I'd worked in England, obviously, but in Nigeria, I've never really had to work for anything. I had a car, I was very comfortable. I had a driver occasionally. I was living at home with my parents, and my dad and my mom particularly doted on me more than even the last born. I just always escorted them when they were traveling or whatever. So, I mean, I was pretty comfortable. And I remember another friend of mine saying to me that she went to Yaba. That's to show you how my mind was. I was living in Ikeja. My friend said she went to Yaba to an MFM church for deliverance. And I said, are you all right? What are you doing in Yaba? You left Lekki. What's wrong with you? Why would you, I was just like, why would you do that? I was having 90,000 naira facials, and I was just in another phase. So when the whole thing, who did I call first? Because what happened was that it was my birthday, and my boyfriend then came to me and said some things to me that were very, very horrible. He said, we had gone somewhere, something had happened, and I realized that some things in your life that I went to. So he made it sound as if he had gone to some churches or something. I don't know. Right. And said, they said that you would not live more than 33. That a lot of things are wrong with your life. That this thing had been captured and your star has been taken. And I had never heard any of these things before. So I was like, oh my God, my life. So I find myself calling my friend, asking her, where's the MFM? What's the MFM? Where did you say you went again for the deliverance? And then I went with my mom's BMW driver, found myself in K2 in the middle of nowhere, to one small pastor's house. I'm just seeing the scene in my mind then. And I was terrified. My parents were not in the country then. And this guy said, yeah, there's some issues, So this is my experience of false prophets or whatever the case may be. There's some issues you need to sort out, So I just increased my fear factor. I'm going to take you on a series of deliverance. So you start here, you do this, you do that. And I was so afraid that I literally left my house. I'm not joking. I left my parents' house. And I went to live with my friend in Lekki. And my parents came back from England and couldn't find me. My mom was like, where are you? I said, I'm not coming. I can't tell you where, because they are then fed me with all sorts of paranoia, and this is what's coming from your mother and your father's house. And so I was so paranoid. And at this point, the only person I had then was my boyfriend, who the relationship was already. So he then came to see this pastor, who then told him that he too needs to do prayers. At that point, the dude said, baby, on your own. Left me high and dry. So this was me. Business was obviously suspended. My life as I knew it was suspended. I mean, I wasn't yet 30. I was in my 20s. And I just didn't know what was going on in my life. And I was told that everything had gone wrong. And I just had nothing, nowhere to turn.
I'm laughing so much because it's funny in hindsight, but this is real.
It is real.
This is what they tell people, and people believe.
Yes. So I had a first-hand experience of that. So as I said, I left my mom's BM. I had my own car, took my own car, and just disappeared. So I lived in my friend's house for a few weeks. I was going back and forth from my house to K2, spending money on taxis because I couldn't drive. I didn't know how to get there, So I was doing these so-called deliverances and all sorts of things, and I was just so scared. Now, fast forward, I had to leave her house at one point. And what did I end up doing? I ended up moving in with this pastor and his wife in their little place in K2. And, you know, I've been to boarding school. I mean, I didn't grow up. I mean, so my boarding school was Bells, and it's a good school, don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's a boarding school, so it's the usual. So I know adversity to an extent, but not what I saw. So I went from having everything to having nothing. I then, you know, because there are some things that when you're doing deliverance in some places, they don't let you have, you obviously can't wear makeup, you can't even wear jewelry, you can't wear trousers to some churches. There's so many things. So all those things were stripped away. So I became like a mad person. I wasn't myself, but I didn't know. And I just found myself in a place where I didn't know how to move forward. So after a while of doing these things, I then went back to work. But something started to happen in this wilderness experience that I did not know I was in a wilderness experience. I obviously started to find God a little more, investigate the Bible, but I was so filled with fear that I wasn't really seeing clearly still. The pastor started to say that I was the one that God sent to him to be his, somebody in the Bible that became a helper or something. That was the one God was sending to him to help him, to be with him. And I began to think, this is crazy. Now, this is
so when you say be with him, like marry him or...
Exactly.
Wasn't he married?
He was already married. Oh. So I was now the one that God was sending to him.
Wow.
And I guess his wife could sense this shift. So she began to act. She was a lovely woman. She began to change towards me. And when it got to an extent, I had to leave. This man so I would go to work, he would come with me because I couldn't find my way to my office from their house. So he would come with me to direct me. So after a while, I could get myself, but he would stay with me in my office, so-called praying with me. And he just became a permanent fixture in my life, but I couldn't tell. But then there was another friend of mine that used to also go to MFM, but she knew him and we became friends. And I used to tell her that there's something wrong. I just can't place my hand on it, but I know it's wrong. And this relationship became toxic. And I knew I needed to get out of it because the man wanted to attach himself to me. And I knew that, I didn't go and study in UK to come and be one. You understand? One man's, I just said, no, this is not going to be my portion. And then it wasn't that it was just him. There was another pastor in Lagos Island that was confirming what he was saying that he used to take me to. And so that was coming from. So I started to talk to the other. So as I said, I was in a ring of prayers, so-called deliverance prayers. So there was another guy in Ikorodu. All these places I used to drive to myself for. After a while, I became gangster. I used to go to all these places. So he then said that the story was not true, that no, God never said anything like that. But my friend then said to me, who used to go to MFM, he said, why don't you just write to the GO? Like, yeah, I'll do that then. I'll write to the GO. The GO of MFM is Dr. Odukoya. I wrote to him. And I think I'd moved back home then. Because this guy he was beginning to ask me, say some things to me that I won't be able to say here, but it was becoming an obsession. So I left his house, I went back to my house. Going back to my house, because I was so filled with fear, I had some horrible experiences spiritually, because I was so filled with fear. But I had to go back home. So I wrote to the GO. I started to go to instead of going to the small MFMs, I started to go straight to the head office, the church in Yaba. And I remember the first time I went and started praying, I loved the energy, the prayer. I was like, okay, I think I'll go here. But by this time, I wasn't wearing earrings. My hair was, I wasn't going to go natural, but I wasn't doing anything to my hair. I had stripped myself of all my worldly possessions, so to speak, So the GO calls me. One day, I'm about to enter one of my parents' cars, and I just get a call. Hello, that's his voice, Tobi. I said, yes, who is this? He said, this is Dr. Luke. I was like, oh my God. He goes, yes, I'd like to see you. So I then go to see him. I think they have Wednesday services. So Wednesday service, and he goes and sees me. And I tell him all these stories, and he's just looking at me. But the prayers have started, so they're waiting for him to come and continue. And he goes, this is MFM that hall must take about maybe a few thousands people. And so I was surprised that he would even have time to see me because it's a huge ministry. And he goes, you definitely need prayers. And I reported that pastor to him. But he said, but you need to stop talking to that guy. You need to, the guy even made your case. So he starts praying for me. So I then do like months of this deliverance prayer. So I will go to, they call them corridor prayers. Go there, do prayers for, do you know MFM? Because MFM prayers, you can have 200 prayer points. Yeah. So I pray, he will lay hands on me, pray. We did that for a while. But what God was doing in that period is that he was refocusing my mind. He was bringing me out of that experience, teaching me some important lessons about spiritual warfare, about identity and all that, and then getting me ready for the next thing. So I began to desire intimacy with God, and I didn't even know. So I used to tell my friend that I'm looking for something more. There must be more to God than just all these prayers. I think I need something more. And she didn't feel that same way. But I just had that burden in my heart. So in reality, what was happening, my business was still running, but not the way it was, because I was dealing with identity crisis issues, spiritual issues, no relationship. Who am I? What am I? I don't know what's going on. So the business still stayed. It didn't die for some reason. I don't even know how the business did not die. That business refused to die, but it was still there. But then at this time, I'd come out. I now started to work on a project. I'd gotten a team. We're doing this beautiful Beauty for Ashes themed fashion campaign and giving back and And I'd stopped going to MFM because at a point God called me out. How did God call me out? He just said, as I said, I began to desire intimacy with God. And then a friend of mine from uni reached out to me and invited me to his church. I went there and I was like, oh, this is nice. So I started going there on the island. So I used to go from Ikeja there. And then God then, the Holy Spirit said, no, this is not where I want you to go. I was like, no, I really like it here. I really like it here. But it took me to another church, which is where I actually met Estan. So it took me to another church, and there, the message of the... Yes. The message of the... And her husband, actually, her husband first. The message of that ministry is intimacy. I didn't know that then, but that's what they were all about.
And it's interesting that you just said that, because one of the key things that I think God does is, or what God definition was, you have different teachers for different things. Because you hear, like I hear the transformation story, I get really excited, I talk about identity, about your journey. And then I'll look again and be like, but God, finances, I need to know about kingdom finances, and then it's like, okay, go and look for the masters in that area, go and learn what they've learned, go and speak to them. And so, we just shouldn't just feel like one pastor has the answer to
No, not at all. Not at all. People have peculiar ministries, callings. So we're all in the body of Christ, but each person has something unique that they are called to bring, to add to the body of Christ and to champion, a part of the kingdom to champion. So I found myself in the intimacy. Now, in the business realm, the reason why we are even going through this story at all is because through this process, I was finding myself and understanding why I had to go through this and what application it had for me financially and in my business. Right. So with developing this project, we went as far as involving Mercedes-Benz. It was an international project. We had all sorts of sponsors. We were launching a beauty campaign that had to do with giving back. So we had focused on the story of a woman and saying that a woman is more than what she looks like. So fashion is very, as you know, is very vain. It's all about the appearance. But we're now bringing the substance to it, saying this woman's life story is important. Her journey, where is she? Is she going through any violent relationship? Is she experiencing anything? And that was our selling point. So we had approached ministries and NGOs, and we had approached blue chip companies. We had approached, and we had a lot of support, and we did a lot of development and everything. And this project was amazing. It was a multi-millionaire project, and it was looking really good. And then, so as that was happening, business, my faith journey too was actually moving up. So I found myself in an intimacy ministry now, but I still had all that backlog of my wilderness experience still weighing on me. I'm still trying to find myself, know who I am, understand why I had to go through that, because it was very, very traumatic. I never really actually spoke to my family about it. I mean, they just thought I went off my marbles, and so they sort of think I'm an extremist. I go from one extreme to the other. But I mean, it was a horrible thing to go through. And I only understood later why I had to go through it. And I'm still in that process of understanding it. And so I find that as my business, and as I came back into business, I was no longer interested in doing fashion for runway, for Bella Naija, for photo shoot. I wanted to do something more. I wanted to add something more to it. And so that's where the substance came in. And I began to look at ways to actually build a business and still give back to the to the society, to the community. And I started looking into social entrepreneurship. What does it actually mean to be a social venture? What does it mean? How can you create a profit, a model that will attract investors and still allow you to be able to be philanthropic? Because investors don't want to hear that you are giving part of your profit back to any community. They want all the money. So we were now working on all those things as God was actually taking me on this journey of faith. Wow. So yeah, that's basically how my business understanding began to develop. So now I found myself speaking to people. How did that happen? It's actually also through this. Because I'd gone through this, so certain things began to attract. I found myself speaking to young school girls, speaking to people that were trying to find their purpose, and speaking to people that had small businesses, trying to help them put structure in their business, because I've had to build my own business from scratch. I've had to rebuild it several times when it failed. I've had to restart it several times. So I began to understand what I needed to do and what I didn't need to do and how to go about it, building all those structures in and all that. So that's how I began to speak, and that's how I began to work with other businesses and other people.
So if people want to know more about you and what you do, where can you be reached?
Okay, I have my Instagram, Odukoya Tobi. I am also on Facebook, Tobi Odukoya. It's Tobi Odukoya the Martins, because I'm Tobi Martins. People know me more as Tobi Martins because that's my maiden name. And I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Pinterest, I think I'm basically, Google Tobi Martins, you will see the Prima Rouge will come up, maybe some of the things where I've spoken and stuff. Yeah, so.
Wow. So, guys, given the length of this video and the fact that I don't want you to miss anything, we're going to take a break here and follow on and conclude it in part 2. So stay tuned. Again, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll show the concluding episode next time. Take care.